The coffee had just finished brewing when the sky split open. Victoria Hayes stood at the window of the London Command Center, watching sheets of metal the size of continents unfold across the morning sky. The cup slipped from her fingers, shattering on marble floors that had witnessed centuries of crisis. This was different. This was the end of everything, or the beginning of something no human had ever imagined. Alarms screamed across every city on Earth. The alien vessels hung in atmosphere like gods examining insects, their hulls reflecting sunlight in patterns that hurt to perceive. Within minutes, every screen on the planet displayed the same image, a towering figure, vaguely humanoid but wrong in ways that triggered primal terror. Its skin rippled like liquid metal. Eyes without pupils studied humanity with cold calculation. Humans of Earth, you are claimed. Surrender your world within one rotation, or we will sterilize it and claim the remains. This is not negotiation. This is notification. The transmission ended. 6 billion people held their breath. Victoria's advisors erupted in panic around her. General Marcus Cole shouted about deploying nuclear arsenals. Dr. Helen Grant babbled about attempting communication. Ambassador Chen suggested immediate capitulation to save lives. Victoria heard none of it. She stared at those ships and felt something ancient and defiant rise in her chest, something that had driven her ancestors from caves to cosmos. She was 52 years old, the elected queen of Earth's unified government for 7 years. She had negotiated peace between nations, ended famines, and guided humanity toward the stars. She had never expected to face this, but she had taken an oath, and that oath had no exceptions for alien invasion. Silence, she said quietly. The room froze. Get me a transmission line to those ships, now. Within the hour, the alien appeared on her screen again. Up close, its features resolved into something almost beautiful, if beauty could be weaponized. Its voice resonated with harmonics that suggested thousands speaking as one. You are the authority? I am Queen Victoria Hayes. I speak for Earth, and my answer is no. The alien tilted its head. The gesture seemed bemused. You do not comprehend your situation. We are the Kresh Collective. We have consumed 400 worlds. Your weapons are irrelevant. Your resistance is futile. Why do you refuse the inevitable? Victoria leaned forward, her gray eyes blazing. Because I'm human, and we don't kneel. Not to tyrants, not to gods, and certainly not to you. Something flickered in those pupilless eyes. Confusion, perhaps. The Kresh had never encountered defiance from the doomed. Your species interests us, it said slowly. You possess individual will within collective structure. Paradoxical. We will study this before we consume you. A pause. You claim authority. Prove it. Face our champion in single combat. If you prevail, we will consider negotiation. If you fail, immediate surrender. Victoria's advisors exploded in protest. This was madness. The Queen couldn't fight an alien warrior. It was suicide. It was exactly what the enemy wanted. Victoria raised her hand. I accept. Victoria, no, Marcus whispered urgently. This is a trap. They'll kill you and take Earth anyway. She turned to him with a sad smile. Probably. But they're giving us time. Use it. Find their weakness. I'll buy you every second I can. The combat would take place at dawn. The Kresh constructed an arena in 6 hours. A massive amphitheater of impossible geometry hovering over New York City. Billions watched as Victoria was escorted to the center, wearing simple combat gear. No weapons, no armor. Just flesh and bone against whatever the Kresh would send. Across from her, a door of light opened. The champion emerged, and humanity despaired. It stood 12 feet tall, covered in overlapping plates of organic metal. 4 arms, each ending in blades that hummed with energy. Its movements were fluid, precise, perfect. This creature had been engineered for nothing but killing. It had probably fought thousands of times and never lost. Victoria was 5'6" and had last been in a real fight in university. She was going to die. The Kresh commander's voice echoed across the arena. Begin! The champion moved like lightning. Victoria dove aside, feeling displacement wind tear at her clothes. Those blades carved the ground where she'd stood into glowing trenches. She rolled, scrambled, barely avoiding a strike that would have bisected her. But she was learning. The creature was fast, strong, and skilled, but it fought with pattern. It expected her to react logically, to defend, to try matching its strength. Every species the Kresh had conquered must have fought that way. Victoria didn't. She grabbed debris from the carved ground and hurled it at the champion's eyes. It was a child's tactic, desperate and undignified. The champion paused, actually paused, as if uncertain how to categorize this behavior. In that half-second, Victoria lunged forward instead of away, sliding under its guard and slamming her fist into what looked like a joint. Ha! Her hand screamed with pain. The champion barely noticed, but its pupils dilated with something that might have been surprise. She kept moving, kept being unpredictable. She fought dirty, without honor, using every trick she'd ever seen in action movies. She feinted one direction and dove another. She screamed and laughed and cursed, filling the arena with noise and chaos. The champion was winning. Blood streamed from Victoria's nose. Her ribs were cracked. Her left arm hung useless. But she was still moving, still fighting, still refusing to fall. And with every passing minute she learned. With every near death she adapted. High above in the Kresh flagship, the commander watched with growing unease. Its collective mind touched the minds of its warriors, seeking consensus on what was happening. The humans should have been dead within seconds. The champion had killed planetary leaders hundreds of times. This should have been over, but the human kept rising, kept moving, kept fighting with a desperation that transcended logic. She fights without coordination from her collective, one voice in the Kresh mind observed. She acts on individual determination. Impossible, another argued. No individual possesses such resilience without unity. Then explain what we observe. The commander had no answer. For the first time in its long existence, doubt touched its thoughts. Meanwhile, in bunkers across Earth, Helen Grant worked frantically. Her team had captured Kresh communication signals during the initial invasion. While Victoria fought and bled, Helen's people tore apart alien code, searching for anything useful. There, breathed her assistant, Daniel Kim. Look at this pattern. Every ship links back to the flagship. It's not just communication, it's command structure. They're networked. Helen's eyes widened. If we sever the flagship's connection, the fleet loses coordination. They're a hive-mind. Without the central node, they're blind. Can we do it? We have their frequencies now. We can jam them. Maybe. If we had more time. You have until Victoria falls, Helen said grimly. Make it work. In the arena, Victoria was dying. The champion had caught her with a glancing blow that opened her side from ribs to hip. She stumbled, vision graying, and fell to her knees. The creature approached slowly, almost reverently. It had learned respect for this small, fragile being who refused to accept reality. It raised its blade for the killing strike. Victoria looked up at the alien ships overhead, at Earth beyond them, at everything she was dying to protect, and she smiled, blood on her teeth. Not yet. She lunged forward with her last strength, not at the champion, but past it, grabbing a piece of the shattered arena floor. The champion's blade came down. Victoria twisted, and the blade struck the metal she'd raised. The impact shattered her makeshift shield and broke her collarbone. But she used the momentum to drive the metal's sharp edge into the gap she'd found in the champion's armor hours ago. It wasn't deep. It barely penetrated. But it was there, proof that even this perfect killer could bleed. The champion staggered back, staring at the wound, then at Victoria, collapsed on the ground barely conscious. For the first time in the Kresh's history of conquest, their champion hesitated. She cannot continue. The Kresh commander announced. The combat is not over, Victoria gasped. She dragged herself upright, using the champion's own leg for support. Blood pooled beneath her. Her body was shutting down, but her eyes blazed with unquenchable will. I'm still breathing. We keep fighting. The champion looked to its commander for guidance. The Kresh collective mind reeled in confusion. This made no strategic sense. The human had lost. Why wouldn't she accept it? You cannot win, the champion said, speaking for the first time. Its voice was surprisingly gentle. Don't have to win, Victoria whispered. Just have to not lose. Just have to keep standing. Keep fighting. Keep being human. She swung weakly. The champion could have killed her then. Should have. But something in its ancient programming, in the Kresh understanding of honor and combat, prevented it. This opponent had earned something the Kresh had never given before. Respect. Your will is incomprehensible, the champion said. Explain it. Victoria laughed, and blood bubbled from her lips. We're human. We don't surrender. We don't give up. You can kill us, but you'll never make us kneel. In the flagship! Alarm suddenly screamed. The Kresh commander's awareness exploded with warning signals. Something was wrong with the fleet network. Connections were severing. Ships were losing coordination. What is happening? It demanded. The answer came in the form of missiles launched from every continent. Conventional weapons, useless against Kresh shields under normal circumstances. But the ships were blind now, their coordination shattered by Helen Grant's jamming signal. Shields overlapped inefficiently. Defensive patterns collapsed. One ship took a direct hit. Rack, its reactor breached. Then another. And another. Impossible, the commander roared. They cannot. They did, Victoria said from the arena, watching the sky burn. While you watched me, they learned. While you thought you'd won, we adapted. That's what humans do. The champion looked up at its dying fleet, then back at Victoria. You knew you would lose this combat. Yeah. You sacrificed yourself to distract us. Yeah. Why? Victoria met its eyes. Because I'm the queen. Because I took an oath. Because sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to lose, no matter the cost. The champion lowered its blades. I acknowledge defeat. You have won, Victoria Hayes of Earth. No. Victoria collapsed, unconscious, before she hit the ground. The Kresh fleet, what remained of it, retreated in chaos, their command structure broken, their ships damaged, their invasion shattered by the will of one human and the brilliance of her species. They had underestimated humanity, assumed physical weakness meant spiritual weakness. They had learned otherwise. Victoria woke 3 days later in a hospital. Her body was destroyed. She would need months to recover, but Earth was safe. The Kresh were gone, fleeing to the far reaches of space with a message that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity could not be conquered. Marcus Cole sat beside her bed. You absolute maniac. You nearly died, but I didn't. Did we win? Completely. 70% of their fleet destroyed or captured. The rest ran. We're studying their technology now. Victoria, you changed everything. She smiled weakly. Just did my job. What day is it? Tuesday morning. Turned out to be quite a Monday. Outside, the sun rose on a transformed world. Humanity had touched the stars in violence and proven worthy of the cosmos. The Kresh had come to conquer and instead gave humanity the greatest gift possible. The knowledge that human will, human courage, and human defiance were forces no alien power could overcome. In the weeks that followed, other species received the transmission. They saw a small human stand against impossible odds. They watched her refuse defeat even as death reached for her. They witnessed one person's sacrifice inspire an entire species to impossible victory. The galaxy learned a new truth that Monday. Earth could be attacked, but humanity would never be conquered. One queen had shown them that. One woman who refused to kneel, refused to surrender, refused to accept the inevitable. Victoria Hayes became a legend, whispered across 1,000 worlds. The human who turned an invasion into victory. The queen who bought time with her blood and saved her world with her will. And when the next alien species considered Earth, they remembered that Monday. They remembered Victoria standing broken but unbeaten in that arena. They remembered what happened to the mighty Kresh when they underestimated humanity. They decided to try diplomacy instead. Victoria never fully recovered from her injuries. She walked with a cane for the rest of her life, and pain was her constant companion. But when children asked about her scars, she smiled and told them the truth. Some things are worth any price. Some fights you take not because you can win, but because surrender is unthinkable. She had been a politician, a diplomat, a leader. But on that Monday morning when the sky split open, she became something more. She became the symbol of an indomitable truth that no alien mind could comprehend, but every human soul understood. Humanity doesn't kneel. Not on Mondays, not ever.